medical technology we provide. But what isn't taken into account is our people. We have over 2,000 employees that are focused, dedicated, and sincere in their mission to create a positive healthcare outcome for each patient. It just goes to show that maybe the most important aspect of great healthcare is the people who are taking care of you. And that just can't be measured. Houston Healthcare. Advanced medical care. Closer to home.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Michael Collins, 2024 Chair of the Robbins Regional Chamber Board of Directors.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome back to our Eggs and Issues this morning. I'm honored to represent TCS as the board chair this year, and I'm excited about the content we have for you this morning as business and community leaders here together. Due to the amount of content we have this morning, I'm going to keep my comments brief, but I'd like to express our grateful ongoing support from Houston Healthcare, who we just heard from the video. We're also thankful for our longtime presenting series sponsor, Synovus. So at this time, I'd like to call my Bedunce buddy, Ron Weigel, to lead the invocation and pledge and say a few remarks on behalf of Synovus. So welcome, Ron.
Thank you, Michael. I pulled this out because y'all should be expecting a joke in a few. Hey, if y'all will stand with us, let's pray and we'll do the pledge first. Lord, we just come to you humbly. You're a living and true God, the only God. You're the creator, and we're just here to glorify you. Our blessings are so many, we can't count them. I know sometimes we take them for granted, but we're just so grateful for what you do for us in this community and our nation. I'm especially grateful for who we have in the room today. I think about the school system and all the teachers and everybody that's represented there. I think about the military that is standing in the front of evil. I think about how our police force and our first responders are there to serve and protect us. And there's so many more that are represented. I just continue to lift them up and praise you for what they do for us in the community. Then I also, we have to lean on you in everything. We have this illusion of control, but the reality is we're not in control, you are. And so we lift up those that are hurting, either physically, emotionally, or just need support. And we want to follow what you've told us to do, is to love you and love our neighbors. And we ask that in all things. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Join me in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I know we have a tight time frame, so I only have 4 dad jokes. I'm just kidding. See, that was a good one. That's a good one to start. But I'm glad and proud to represent Synovus. We have some of our team at that table. There's some that represent our leadership in the bank. And look, we're a 130-year-old company. We've been in Warner Robins for almost 40. In 25, we're going to celebrate 40 years. But the way I think about what we do is it's really relationships. And what I would say is, at the heart of what we do is, we try to add value, share best practices, and create awareness. And so I just wanted to take a minute and maybe talk about fraud, like as a general, we'll just call it a public service announcement, because it's something that we're seeing all the time. And if you don't bank with us, your bankers probably are talking to you about it. If not, then ask them. But what I would tell you is that probably the most precious resource that you have as a business is your information. And to a fraudster, that's a commodity. So my first thing would be to tell you to just be very protective of that. And there's lots of ways that you can do that as a business. You have resources. There's one up here. You have resources to protect your information. The odds are that none of you, like statistically speaking, are going to win a lottery or a sweepstakes, or perhaps have an Amazon delivery that you need to click on a button for. So I would just urge you to refrain from doing those things, because that's information that is translated to fraudsters in some cases. So that's one thing. And then on the business side, I would say, look, as a company, we spend a lot of money in technology to protect you. And so there's resources from, Positive Pay and Block, and you just need to talk to your bankers. If you're not banking with us and you're concerned about it, that's something to do. On a practical side, from an individual basis, what I would recommend is, again, protect your information. And the most simple way to do that for me is to say, okay, hey, instead of using my debit card, if I'm going to use a debit card, you already know I don't work for Apple, but if you use a debit card, use like Apple Pay or something like that. So when you tap it, it translates your number into another number. They're not getting your card number, so your information is not compromised. That's one thing to think about. Another way is maybe to use a credit card instead of using a debit card. I'm not advocating for you to have a balance at the end of the month, but that's just another way to protect your funds in your account. So for that, I guess that's my public service announcement as it relates to fraud, and I hated to be a downer on that, but it is something that we're seeing, and it's something that's more prevalent probably than ever. And I guess the last statistic I'll share on that is that, while check volumes are down, check fraud is up significantly. So, all right, with that, y'all ready? Did I get no drum roll? Let me see here. This relates to a dinner that I was at the other day, because I went for Chinese last night, and I got to chatting with the waiter. He told me he lived in Japan during the war, and he was a kamikaze pilot. His code name was Chow Mein. I said, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't kamikaze pilots sacrifice their own lives? He said, yes, but I was chicken chow mein. I thought that was pretty good. Now on to the program. Thank y'all. That's it.
Thanks, Owen. And thanks for those remarks. We needed the comic relief, apparently. Pretty heavy, right? All right. We'd also like to thank Kim Hamlin and the Hamlin Group for being our weather sponsor. She's the reason we weren't getting poured on when we walked in. So be sure to thank her. Our session sponsor this morning is Heart City Marketing. So please help me welcome Stephen Britt to the platform for a few remarks.
I was in a moving truck coming up Watson Boulevard, slam full, everything I owned in it. I was very excited and proud to be moving back home to Warner Robins. I had one place I had to go first, and that was the City of Warner Robins Water Department. It's my first time buying a house. I was really worried we'd get there and there'd be no water and it'd be a big mess. So I had to go there first. And coming up Watson Boulevard just held a lot of history for me and my family. Went right past where my dad had his business up until he passed. It made me think about how we came to be here. Not just my branch of the family. He actually convinced two of his brothers to move here at the same time. And I felt so thankful for that. Thankful that I grew up right down the road from my cousin Cole, who's the co-owner of Heart City Marketing. Thankful that we grew up the way cousins should, that way. Thankful for the opportunities that we had here that our family wouldn't have had otherwise, because of this topic of livability that we're here for today. I was having all those good feelings thinking about that. I went and got the water turned on without incident, started towards the new house, and I thought about my 4-year-old daughter. One day she's going to be in a moving truck like this, and where is she going to be moving to? I don't know about y'all, if you have kids, I think we want them right here, don't we? And I didn't have an answer that day for how I was going to make that happen, because it takes a lot. I can't guarantee that she's going to want to grow up and come to work for dear old dad at Heart City Marketing, but maybe she'll want to work at one of your businesses. I think what I would like is if we have a strong community where a young person can find any kind of education in the world they would want right here in Middle Georgia. Where they can find any kind of recreation and entertainment that they want right here in Middle Georgia. Where they can go into any career they want and have a good, fulfilling life right here in Middle Georgia. That's a big part of what Heart City Marketing is about. This is the heart city of our family. and we want it to be a good place for all families. We only survive and work as a business if we can help your business thrive. That's what we're here for. We have a couple of things for you today. There are pins on the table. We want you thinking about our business while you do your business and how we can help you. We also have those little black circles, and they have stickers on them, but don't get excited and peel them off. I see some hands grabbing. Those are NFC tags. So we are a digital first marketing company. The way this works, if you want to take out your phone, you can try it now. You tap your phone to that. If you hold it there for a second, you might have to unlock. It'll pull up a link to our website. You might think, hey, that's great. It takes you right to heartcitymarketing.com. You can read about us, who we are, what we do. That's not something you would take home and show to other people. Why would you send them to my website? That's not what I want you to do. What I want you to do is bring that to our table after the session, and we will program that to go to your business website. That way, when you're out and about, it's a way you can market person to person. You can put your brand in their hand with just one tap. Those stickers can go right on the back of your cell phone case. So hopefully that'll help you and your business out. We want to provide that today. And we do have a little more for you to come later on, but I think I've gone on for too long already. I just want to say thank you so much for everything that you do to build up our community and make it better and better. We're happy to be part of that with you. Thankful for the Robbins region and the opportunity to focus on livability in Warner Robins today. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Stephen. Nearly every Eggs and Issues program that we put on here impacts some aspect of livability. This morning we'll be focusing on specific aspects of our quality of life that include green spaces, economic prosperity, social stability and equity, educational opportunity, entertainment and recreation, and a general sense of belonging and community for everyone. Simply put, we cannot have a healthy business climate if we neglect the issues impacting livability. So without further ado, please help me welcome to the stage our livability panel, Jay Flesher from Flint Energies, Holly Wharton from the city of Perry, Josh Rogers from Newtown Macon, Gracie Rigby from Rigby's Entertainment Complex, along with our chamber president and CEO, April Bragg.
Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back. It is exciting to see all of you here for our first Eggs and Issues of the second half of the year. I don't know if your summers flew by quite as fast as mine, but it's always a treat to see you guys gathered here. We've got a packed room, and if you've looked at the literature on your table or the emails we've been sending, we've got a lot going on this fall, and that is a testament to the livability of our community and all of the great things happening in every corner of our region. So we're going to get started. I would just like to ask each of our panelists to take a second and introduce themselves and give you an idea of why they're here today with their role in their organization. So Josh, we'll start with you.
Sure. Hi, I'm Josh Rogers. I'm the president and CEO of Newtown Macon. We're the downtown revitalization nonprofit in Macon. And there really we connect to livability in a lot of ways. But some of the primary things we do, we developed the river trail system in Macon. So, and honestly, that's been the basis, I think, of Macon's success. Is we did a plan that said, gosh, the river is just an industrial waste ditch, but it could be an incredible amenity. And so trying to play to the strengths of your community and offer new opportunities for people, we started building trail 20 years ago, and that culminated in a 200-acre Amerson River Park where we now get 500,000 users a year. Which if you told me that 20 years ago, there's no way I would have believed it. But it really caught on with everybody. And it was maybe one of the first projects that also cut across socioeconomic lines. Everybody uses the trail. And they all meet there as equals, and they share a smile. And I think that experience has created trust in Macon that we didn't have before. And it's made us all willing to partner together on new projects. And that really helped us in downtown Macon. And I'd say the other thing about livability is talking about starting new businesses. There's not always financing available for people who want to start from scratch. If you're lucky to have a friend or a family member with money, then maybe you got a shot at it. But the other thing we've tried to do in livability is to be an equalizer. So for anybody who's got a good idea to fix a building or start a business in downtown Macon, we put them through a training program so they've got the skills they need, and then we actually invest the cash for them to pursue their business. So I'd say those are some of the key ways we're working on livability.
Awesome.
Well, good morning. I'm Gracie Preston-Rigby with Rigby's Entertainment Complex in Waterworld. Some of you may also know that we are affiliated with the Best Western Plus Executive Residency and Walk On Sports Bistro. So if you come to our site, you can park, stay, hang out with us. I'm probably there. I've been with Rigby's full time for 10 years. I have spent a lifetime cultivating the necessary traits to work there since I work with my family. So if you need me, I'm essentially over sales and marketing, but I'm probably taking out the trash. So if you need me, you can catch me everywhere on the property. So with Rigby's, it was started by my father in 2013, that's when it opened. And from there it's grown with the water park opening in 2018. The Best Western Plus and the rooftop bar opening in 2020, which was an odd time, as we all know. And then Walk On Sports Bistro in 2022. And that's not the end of it. So after this, we've got a pre-meeting for construction on a new hotel at the city. So it's always growing. So I would say for us, contributing to livability is seeing a need and filling it. So we have the great opportunity of generational experience, starting with my grandfather, down to me, then now the third generation, to continue this growth and really put investments forward in the Middle Georgia region. So we're located in Warner Robins, but I visit Amerson quite frequently with my dogs, love Perry, and on a boat. So we're all here together and we all do this as a community.
Perfectly said. Holly.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having us. My name is Holly Wharton. I serve as the Economic Development Director for the City of Perry, and my number one job is to recruit new businesses to Perry, but the most exciting part of that is to promote and sell our community as a place to do your business, but also to live. So Perry is growing rapidly. We're building lots of new homes every single year. And so Perry has really proven itself to be a place to live, and we're excited to talk more about that today.
Good morning, my name is Jake Lesher. I do community economic development for Flint Energies. I've been a resident here since 1994, and we came here because of the school system. My wife was a teacher. I was traveling. What a great place for her to come in and be in a great school system. She had a long career here, and we're excited about that part of it. I can tell you that I've been in economic development since 2000. Started with Parish down in their growth pattern, but then grew into other things in our community, including helping to lure Little League International to develop their regional center here. At that point, Flint basically came to me and said, "Hey, we see what you're doing, come do it for us instead of yourself." And been with them for 12 years now. We've touched a lot of different bases. The last ones that have really been the key for us is helping other partners in our community with SPLOST and eSPLOST programs. I've been the chair of that program for the last two election cycles.
Awesome. So for those of you who are frequent flyers at our Eggs and Issues events, most of these are specific to one municipality or sector of our community. And actually in 2018, we began discussions with Livability Media. If you guys think about, if you can even remember pre-pandemic, headlines in the national news related to Warner Robins, Houston County, Macon, and Middle Georgia as a whole, number one, there weren't a whole lot of them. And the ones that were there probably weren't the story that we wanted to be the narrative for this incredible community that we all call home and that we take tremendous pride in, where we want our kids to return to after college. And so our chamber board made the strategic decision to partner with Livability Media. Many of you have partnered with us in that platform, and our next print publication will come out in the end of August. My daughter Abby is in the corner with our most recent pub. You guys can grab some of those before they get replaced on your way out. But why is that important? So unlike a number of our local publications and web platforms, this is not just for locals. It is an opportunity for all of us as a collective region to tell the good news that's happening here in Middle Georgia on a national and global scale. Livability Media is the #1 site for military spouses when they're investigating the communities in which they are going to be moving to and PCSing to. And with the Air Force's strategic basing priorities, these quality of life components, educational offerings, recreational opportunities, healthcare, a general sense of community are all increasingly important. And y'all have heard me say often we are regional for a reason. Robins Air Force Base is a large part of that. If you look at other installation communities, the cities are much larger. We've got 159 counties in Georgia, so a 20-minute drive up to downtown Macon, or not even 20 to downtown Perry, we really do have it all within the same driving distance that you would have at Tinker or Hill or some of the other places. And so when we talk about things that matter in our community, these are placemaking and livability are an undercurrent, kind of behind the scenes, partnerships between government and the private sector to make this an attractive place for families. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'd like to first get you guys to kind of weigh in on some of the misconceptions about placemaking or livability, because it sounds like a fluffy topic, but as Josh and Jay, and actually all of y'all alluded to, this requires a lot of planning and forethought. So Jay, I'm actually going to start with you on this one, and just talk about the different players and partners that really make this concept come to life.
Sure. So you have several different partners that have to come to the table on this, and in doing that, you obviously have the governments of our community, and it takes a lot of political will a lot of times to get some of this stuff done. Not only because you have SPLOST campaigns and eSPLOST campaigns, but you have the need for vision, and vision casting, it goes a long ways. A lot of times we say at Flint that we can't afford to put a name on a building, but we can help paint a picture. Well, that's what these entities are doing. They're painting pictures and using these campaigns to really get that going. But then you have the private industry of development. Now, they don't always come to the table with a kind heart for the community. They wanted some type of payback out of that. So you have to create that balance of payback. Then you obviously have the school system, big part of that. I mean, that was the draw that brought us here. And quite honestly, that up until recently, I mean, that has been the draw for a lot of people to come to town, besides maybe having a job already. You know, and then you have obviously great resources like the technical college and the university systems and what they're doing to bring that in. And all those players have especially recently, have had great vision as to what placemaking on a regional scale, on a Houston County scale, really means.
Absolutely. Anybody else want to weigh in on that?
I think one of the misperceptions about livability investments is that they're expensive. And it tends to be a total myth, because in a lot of cases, when you find the right amenity that people are clamoring for, property values end up rising more than enough to pay for it. And so that's sort of been the system in downtown Macon. Everybody's like, that's too expensive, it's never going to work. But man, it flipped so quick from being something that we were investing in to something that was paying back outrageously. And so I think that's the other thing, is sometimes we're hesitant as citizens to ask for something we know that can improve the lives of our citizens because it seems expensive. And sometimes those numbers are big, but man, a lot of them are investments in the future that get paid back tenfold if we make them up front. So.
And I think to piggyback on that too, Josh, I think a misperception is often that it might be too late for opportunity. I mean, growing up, being a lifelong Middle Georgian, born and raised in Dublin and then in Milledgeville, I watched the transformations of downtown Macon and downtown Perry. I mean, I remember driving through downtown Perry with not a lot of places to stop on the way to the fair in 1996 when I was graduating from high school, and thinking this was probably so cool 30 years ago. And now I never would have dreamed the way it is now. And we heard from Mayor Patrick earlier this year about the renovations that are happening, the revitalization of Commercial Circle. And you know, for so long it was discussed. And so I think we've got evidence in front of us that it's not too late if you get the right parties involved and you get the right political capital around it. We really can shape the people and places and experiences that people have in their attachment to our community.
Well, and to follow up to that is a lot of times it's in the course of doing natural business. You know, CGTC, the relationship that you guys have done with Trinity College, Medical College, and the House County Medical, that is a huge game changer. But that's in the course of doing regular business, but it takes a lot of political capital and a lot of vision to bring that in. All of a sudden, you're bringing people into a community that are going to be a critical need in the near future and far future, that they're coming here to be educated, but they're going to find a reason to stay here, or we're gonna try to create a reason for them to stay here. The same thing goes for their sports program, not to give them too much credit because they deserve all of it. But the sports programs, again, you're bringing kids into this town that will be part of your workforce if we can get them to stay.
Yep.
And it's part of their normal business.
Yeah, and to add to that, you spoke a little bit about vision, Jay, and it really does take strategic vision and leadership at the local government level to prioritize some of these things. And even some of the smallest things we prioritize in Perry, even down to litter control, which we put forth a lot of resources to, and just making sure that our community is clean. Same with landscaping. Everybody loves our flower planters downtown, and so just little things like that really do contribute to the livability, especially of a smaller town like Perry.
Awesome. And we think about livability, of course, the residential component, the day-to-day life that all of us live each and every day, the activities that are available for our families, the resources, amenities, all of those are so important. But livability really is about general attraction for new residents and families, that workforce, visitors, and private investment alike. And I think one point that's important for us to make is the role that each of us in the room play in the way that we talk and post about our community online, general conversation. So I'm gonna throw that to you guys and let you share some experiences you may have had, positive or negative, as far as that's concerned, and some encouragement for everybody.
Yeah, so whenever I was asking on the panel, I asked April, can you please break down what livability is? Because that's such a vague term, and it's vague because it's subjective. So it is, for me, the emotional attachment that you as an individual have to your community. And I've done programs where we go to other cities and help them. We're like consultants for them with the Georgia Municipal Association. They're coming here to Warner Robins August 20th for one of their socials. You guys should all come. It's at the rooftop bar. But in that community, I was on a team with someone who lives there that could not stop talking negatively about where they lived. And it drove me crazy. I was like, why are you in this group trying to make your city better if you have literally nothing positive to say about it? Because an outsider looking in, all I could tell them was, you guys have X, Y, and Z. We should capitalize on A, B, C. And it was just met with such jaded feeling. And that is one of the most infuriating things for me, for those that live, work, play in our communities across the board in Middle Georgia, and then complain about there's nothing to do. Complain about there's no parks, when it's just not true. I think where the disconnect is that I know in part of Jay's notes, we're a car-venient community. So instead of being able to, not always be able to park and then walk like in Perry or in Macon, you have to make the intentional effort to go there. And then once you're there, you may have to make the intentional effort to go somewhere else. At Rigby's, we're working to make it to where you can park and play, but that's not always where people, want to stay or go or whatever, because you want variety. So like you said, it's never too late to add something new. It's never too late to have a vision. I mean, in 2013, Warner Robins was kind of touted as, we're 2 hours from everything, so you're close to everything, which kind of left a void across the board for things to do locally. And I would say since I've moved back in 2015 from school to work full time, it has changed exponentially. I never am at a loss for things to do per se. That may make me the cruise director of my friend group, but I'm gonna make sure we have something to do because I'm intentional about it. I don't live in the negative space of, I guess I'll just stay home. I love to garden, but I'd rather go to downtown. So, I don't know. That's my perspective on it, at least. I've made a great intentional effort to make a life here, and I think that's where that subjectivity of livability comes from. It's the effort you put into your own life, and that is felt in the community that you live in.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was going to say, in talking to a lot of friends as we lead up into this conversation, they ask the same question: what is livability? Well, I would always equate it back to when you're traveling and you walk in someplace and you feel a vibe that's different, and you say, hey, this is pretty cool. You can picture yourself being there, and you picture yourself being there, and you and your friends hanging out. Then that's what we're talking about. That's a placemaking. That's what makes people spend dollars. That's what pulls people there to live. That's what livability and placemaking is.
Yep. Well, and Jay, I want to park on that with you for a second. You've been very instrumental in a number of initiatives that have sort of a recreation or arts and culture kind of, theme or through line. Let's talk about some of those investments that we've seen with, what's happened at Ted Wright Park and what we've seen with the new North Houston Sports Complex. Of course, Southeastern Little League got all of this started, to see the impacts that those investments have made on our community.
Yeah, so if you talk about the investment in recreation, especially with the city of Warner Robins, you're talking about $35 million over the last 2 blocks. Yeah. And you're seeing where they're seeing not only the fact that they're putting facilities on the ground and doing asset building as far as the parks in the new North Houston Sports Complex, but they're also doing pickleball, and they're doing walking trails and everything. Well, they're seeing an uptick of about 36,000 people per month start activating in their parks.
Say that number again.
36,000 people a month are going and activating in their parks. Now, when we came here in '94, the parks were great. I don't know, we would go every once in a while, but you wouldn't see 36,000 people over the course of a month there. That's a huge asset that has been brought to our community through the SPOS program, but also the vision of the Parks and Rec in the city of Warner Robins over the years to get that done. Well, the same thing goes for the House County Board of Education and the other entities in town. All of a sudden we've got a tennis center that has been built. We've got an aquatic center that's been built. And we've got, in the near future, we're going to have a performing arts center that's being built. All those are public-public partnerships where they've gone in together and then they've all invested their own money to make that happen. Those resources are tremendous assets to our community. And on top of it, more times than not, they become a public access asset as well. They're able to use those after hours. I talked to the Board of Education about, just in the last month and a half, they've had over 400 swim lessons. And they've got 3,500 participants that come in and check in and do community swims. And that's not even talking about what the Aquamont's doing, but we have 150 of those kids popping in 6 days a week in training. So that's a huge asset to our community.
Yeah, well, and the other piece, of course, I remember the very first weekend that the Aquatic Center was open, and I pulled over and sent the Chamber Executive Committee a little video of the parking lot because it was slam full of cars because we were able to host a full-fledged tournament there. And so that's obviously impacting tourism. They're filling up their cars with gas, they're swinging over to Rigby's or one of our eateries, for a meal. They're spending money, but they're gaining a positive experience. But furthermore, looking at my friends at the hospital here, a lot of these things are helping with livability from a sense of life extension and vitality and activity and #HoustonHealthy for the residents of our community, being more physically active, being more engaged, and that of course in turn creates additional social offerings and opportunities there. So it really is that ripple effect that we experience every single time.
The biggest thing I can tell you is activation. You can build it all you want to. How do you activate it? How do you get people to engage? Because again, it goes back to the feeling of I'm involved in something it's a common experience. As soon as I'm involved in a common experience, that's what the activation tool is.
Yeah. So public safety is obviously another key driver when it comes to this, and I'm always so thankful to see so many members of our law enforcement and first responders that join us for this, and of course our military that help to protect us every day. I know for all of these developments, that's something that's critical. You guys in Perry have pumped a lot into making sure that Perry is recognized as a safe environment. Why is this particularly crucial for you? And then I'll kick over to Josh as well.
Yeah, so absolutely. We like to put forth a lot of resources to our public safety departments, fire and police. We want to make sure that all of our residents can expect a prompt and reliable service when they call 911 with an emergency. And right now our police and fire departments are both fully staffed, so that's a really good position for us to be in Perry. But aside from just response for emergencies, our departments are doing a lot of proactive education and technology utilization. So on the police side, they are doing a lot of education programming with scam prevention, like we're talking about. It's so important these days, and also with neighborhood watches. On the fire side, we have a prevention division that is constantly going into schools, talking to children, and they even just this summer held a junior fire academy where they taught a cohort of middle-aged students what it's like to be a firefighter, train them, CPR train them. They took home fire safety skills, but also gave them a glimpse of the workforce of what it would be like to work as a firefighter. So doing a lot of prevention here.
That's very cool.
Boy, that's a tough question. You know, in Macon, crime is very specific. It's a function of poverty. It's domestic issues and it's economic issues related to poverty. And so, the mayor's done a really great job with the Macon Violence Prevention Program about trying to meet and fix some of those social dysfunctions of poverty in the neighborhoods where they exist. And honestly, I think that is the solution that we should set our sights on, is the dramatic reduction of poverty that's basically stayed stuck since 1860. And we're making some positive strides in that regard. I think Newtown's got a really small part to play in that, which is opportunity and hope. Like I mentioned earlier, the circumstances of your birth really determine whether you're going to be able to start a business or not. And talent in entrepreneurship is equitably divided across the whole community. So the more opportunities we can make for especially people of color and women, but really anybody who was born into a financial situation that's not setting them up to be able to pursue their dreams, is to be the bridge builder there with the knowledge and financial resources for them to be able to try it out. The crazy thing is, I mean, we're totally unregulated, and we've made $36 million of investments in 94 different projects, and we haven't lost a penny.
Wow.
Which is shocking. It just shows there's big gaps, and right, the bankers are shaking their heads. It's not the bankers' faults either. I mean, they're not saying no because they want to say no. So I think that's a big part of it, is no matter what circumstance you're born in, if you can see hope for a different outcome, if you don't see yourself doomed to live out the same experience your parents have, man, that can really change the whole community and eliminate poverty significantly. I'd say that, and the other thing in Macon, consolidation eliminated the police department, which has been a really interesting, I probably couldn't say this in a Macon audience, but it's been a really interesting challenge for all of us, no longer having a police force. The mayor is currently mitigating that a lot with the growth in the code enforcement department. We went from 4 code enforcement people to now we're over 30. And, but yeah, I mean, it's all these issues that you don't just fight crime with policing. You gotta fight crime with livability too.
Yeah, well, you do, and it's interesting to think about, you know, again, perceptions of safety in a space. And I know, you know, even a decade ago, maybe not even that long ago, I had a much different perception of walking around downtown Macon with my family. And I know with, you know, Commercial Circle, people are wondering what's going to happen, what's that going to look like. But when livability and commerce and activity increases, there's a direct correlation with a decrease in crime.
You're absolutely right. I mean, the way we fought crime in downtown Macon was occupancy.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there was no crime in downtown Macon 10 years ago. There also was no one there. Right? There was no one to commit crime by or on.
Right.
But the perception, like you said, was unsafe the minute you stepped out of your car and onto the curb. And so the way we fought that is occupancy in downtown Macon has gone from 50% to 85%, and we've added 1,000 new residents in lofts. Well, now you step on the curb and you're going to see somebody walking their dog. You're going to see friends having coffee on a sidewalk cafe. So the perceptions are huge. People don't check crime stats when they decide whether they're safe or not.
Right.
It's a sensation.
Yeah.
And that is
I told you
changing.
about the feeling. Yeah.
And just to add a little bit to that from the city of Perry, you talked about activating a space, and we do that a lot with our events that we have in Perry. I'm sure everyone's heard of Food Truck Friday and joined us at.
Tell us more.
Yeah, but with that, at all of our events that we have police and fire presence there, and it creates an informal opportunity to meet with the community where they are and build those good, positive relationships with public safety.
So, you know, talking a little bit about changing the stars of the community. You know, I remember back when the community had to take over the 4th of July celebration, and we were like on the edge of trying to figure out what to do with the development of the Commercial Circle, whatever else. Well, in tagging on that, I kept hearing, well, it's dangerous downtown Warner Robins after hours because the lights are not always up or whatever else, and there was this perception. And that's when we came up with the idea of doing a glow run. And so we were gonna be the first 4th of July glow run ever to happen, you know, the day of 4th of July, 12:01, we started 12:01, we did the glow run. Well, what that was, we teamed up with the Warner Robins Police Department to run through the downtown sections of Warner Robins, down to Front Street. There was a lot of shocked people down, you know, First Street and Front Street at that point, thinking that, wow, why are the cops down here? I mean, we haven't done anything. But then always you have a huge amount of runners come down through there. That was so much of a success that Warner Robins PD have done that since then as well, several times as a fundraiser. So it's a lot of times it's perception driven, and sometimes when you bring the community to the problem, it shocks the rest of the community to say, okay, we can do this, we can move forward.
Absolutely. We talked a lot about being car-centric earlier, and Jay, I know you had some additional things that you were going to share. There's obviously challenges that come with that. So what issues are we trying to solve with placemaking around that car-centric or car-venient community?
Well, you know, that's a good question. I mean, it's really goes back to the feelings of we're trying to create the feeling.
Yep.
You know, like I said, when you walk into a place, you know you're supposed to be there, right? And you know the people sitting next to you are supposed to be there as well because they're part of the matrix at that moment. You know, as far as your game is concerned. So that's probably the hugest part of it. But again, it's connectivity. I mean, you're trying to fix connectivity because really, truly, this whole thing is about workforce. You know, we're in a competitive situation for workforce, both at the base and anybody else that's building a widget. And so if we can create these attractions that bring workforce to us, and they're here not because of the job, they're here because of the atmosphere, and this is the place they're supposed to be, then all of a sudden the jobs come, the work comes, the businesses come, the entrepreneurs come. So that's really, for me, that's the biggest part of this.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the opportunities with being so convenient is identifying intentional connectivity points, and I think that's been a big focus in the region over the last several years with, you know, the trails, with of course the Okmulgee Mounds, the connectivity, Houston Lake Road into Perry, and now everything with the fairgrounds. What are some of the highlights that you guys have seen in terms of connectivity in the region that you think are important to highlight?
Yeah, well, I think for us, directly here, the importance of connectivity is how you build it. So, I mean, obviously, shameless pitch here, Rigby's is a connected site where you can drive to it, stay there, park there, play there, entertain yourself there, whatever you want to do there. There's many different options, and that's what people are looking for. I understand that's a private business, so it's not exactly the same as going to downtown Macon or downtown Perry, but it's still that same effort. So I think taking that upon ourselves to find those opportunities is really important. And connectivity doesn't always have to be something that's physical. So, you know, for example, through the chamber, I'm a part of the Boss Pros, Food Pros group, and we are in a group message that is constantly being used. So, I mean, the connectivity component where, hey, we're gonna reopen on August 3rd, we want y'all to come out and see it first. That's a big deal to make those connections and know who wants to see your place or who you want feedback from. And again, that's subjective with how intentional you are with placemaking yourself in your community. Like Jay said, when you walk in a room, you know you're supposed to be there, but a lot of that is being comfortable. So, for example, just talking about utilizing the facilities we have, I played pickleball Tuesday night at Ted Wright Park. I don't know anybody out there, but I'm on a ladies' league because I like sports and I want to meet people. And I ended up sharing numbers with the people who own Jeremiah's, and she was super cool, and now we're friends, and that's just how it works, and that's how I've made friends here. Kate Hogan and I met through the chamber, and I can't imagine my life without her now. She's the Economic Development Director of the City of Warner Robins. I call her all the time. But it's just finding those people and making those connections across the board, like private and public, they don't need to get together. But the City of Warner Robins is so meaningful and necessary for us, and I can't imagine a better place to truly do business.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the things that you hit on that I'm glad we're going to touch on is perceptions of the way things were when maybe we first came to our community versus the evolution now, and the way that we utilize resources and spaces and changing the public narrative. A lot of times we get hung up on the way things were when we first encountered them. But you know, you mentioned Ted Wright Park, and when we first moved here, you know, my kids were 6 and 8, and we use Ted Wright Park in a very different way now that they're almost 16 and 18, and they're driving themselves over to play pickleball, and being intentional about both utilizing and touting the resources in our community. It's very easy for us to get in a rut and go to the same places, and I think about Jay. Jay was in my interview when I got hired here, and you know, we were talking about things to do and challenges in the community, and that was 2014, and the question was asked, what is one of the biggest challenges in our community? And I talked about the perception of it being primarily chain stores and restaurants, and you know, having to drive to get just about anywhere. And I think about, even if you just take a glance on that Facebook page, Robins to Go, all of the local businesses that are an integral part of our community that have gained tremendous exposure, provided tremendous investment, and the business community's involvement in livability and placemaking really can't be understated. And Holly, I know y'all leverage the private sector and business community a lot in your programming and events, and of course with economic development, that's who you're getting prospects in front of. So what are some of the things that you guys are touting from your businesses in downtown Perry about the region?
Yeah, so Perry plays a big role with more of the locally owned businesses and restaurants, and we're getting to be kind of known for that as we have more and more develop and we have more interest. So, you know, we really are promoting, especially downtown Perry, as a place to develop a smaller locally owned business in a more walkable downtown setting. And as workforce trends change and people want to live in smaller, more community-centric cities like Perry, we just see more and more of this coming in the future.
Well, in really truly, you know, what you're seeing down in Perry, the renaissance of our community's Mayberry.
Yeah.
You know, but you also have a lot of political will that has to go on down there, because you do have historic buildings that have served a life cycle, but they don't really lead into what's next. And so what you're seeing down there is a huge growth options. But you're seeing, you know, new things come in, like Chad Bryant in the Muse Theater, and you know, obviously the redevelopment or the renovation of the old courthouse. Those things are focal points that draws not only the people coming to the restaurants, to the wine shops, to the shopping, but it brings them there after hours and creates another reason to be down there doing business as well.
Yeah, that's right. And just to add to that, we do a lot to try to encourage more of that just coming downtown, and you can see that with our restaurant district. You know, a lot of people call it an open container district, but you know, we have that, and it really creates a sense of community. And then we're just adding on programming through our Main Street Advisory Board that's doing such a great job. And one of those things is our new Live at 5 programming that we're doing, where we pay solo musicians to just come and play music on the street, and it just adds to that atmosphere that we have in Perry.
Absolutely. So we've covered a lot of ground in 30 minutes, and I still probably have 15 questions on these cards. So what I would like to do, instead of me determining what's going to be most important, is take a round of each of y'all highlighting perhaps something that we haven't touched on yet that you would like to cover, and then we'll follow that with sort of some advice for the group in the next round. So Josh, we'll start with you.
I mean, just top of my head, you know, one of the things I was thinking about is being open to change is really one of the baseline conditions that you got to create in the community to be able to embrace new opportunities, especially economically. And I think it's one of my favorite things about being in Macon is intergenerational partnerships. Is we've had senior leaders who are welcoming young people to the table to help make decisions, not pushing away and saying they're done, but being very intentional that there are a whole bunch of generations having a conversation about what the future should look like. And I think that makes a tremendous difference in a community, is for people who are accomplished to look for young people that they think they find a spark in, and then creating a partnership together where you share skills and experiences to help shape a future. That's not happening everywhere. I mean, a lot of the places I go that are falling behind, that's what they're missing, is they're missing the wisdom of experience along with the naivete of youth, together creating a different future.
I would say, so with Rick, we're talking about chains, and there's lots of chains here. And I've thought about this at length, the reason why. We're a fairly transient area, so the comfortability is important. You know what you're gonna get when you walk in the doors of your favorite chain that may be here. That being said, the ease of access doesn't necessarily translate to you feeling comfortable or intentional in your community. So I think to myself, what are my shopping habits? So we're trying to attract that young, professional, disposable income that want to live here. That's me. What am I doing that is going to drive a business here? How am I shopping? And truly, I was just trying to think, the last time I went intentionally to sit down at a chain, not that there's anything wrong with the chain. The last chain I went to is probably Walk-Ons, because that's what we have. But I really am intentional about where I go so that we support the businesses that are here, because business is hard. It is so hard. And sometimes they're inconsistent because we're all people. And if you're locally owned, more than likely the person who owns it is there touching whatever you're getting, whether it's a service or a meal. And having that empathy and understanding, I think, goes a long way when it comes to support, as opposed to immediately posting on Warner Robins, I'm calling you out. I can't even follow that page because one small mess up can turn into this whole PR nightmare that isn't even necessarily a big deal. So, I'm sorry your pulled pork was 2 hours late, but our food runner called out and our cook is at the bar, and it's just a lot. So being really understanding with that, I think, goes a long way. So all that to say, Rigby's itself, in the past 11 years, I had Kate pull some numbers for me. We have had upwards of 4 million visitors in 11 years. That is a lot of people, and that's a lot of opportunity to attract people to invest, whether it's sales tax, where it's staying in the community, or for them to move here as a resident. And again, it's how we make people feel when they come here. So I know a lot of people say, oh, Warner Robins isn't a tourism destination. Well, it is now. So get that in your heads.
Absolutely. Holly.
Sure. So I want to highlight, as a local government on the panel, it's a little bit different from the others, but we have core values, and some of that includes respect and trust, and we translate that into inclusivity into our community. So just to kind of explain where we're going with that, with livability, we talk a lot about downtown Perry, and it is wonderful, absolutely. But Mayor Walker likes to say, we plan from city limit sign to city limit sign. So no matter where you live within our city, you can expect the same high quality level of service, no matter what street you live on. So that's number one, important for our community. But then just going beyond that in our programming and our properties, like our parks and things like that. So I have to talk about our International Festival. We talk a lot about Food Truck Friday, and it's great, but our International Festival is incredible. And I have to say, this week we just got an award. It hasn't come out yet, but it's one of the top 20. Let me see. It's a top 20 signature event in the Southeast.
Oh, wow.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And big shout out to Anya that really got that event started, and it's being carried on with Autumn. So we're doing great with that, and it's coming up. So please come. If you've never attended that event, please do. It really showcases so many different countries and cultures, and it's great that that is being highlighted here in Middle Georgia.
Yeah. And what's the date?
It's September 28th from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Yeah, so come and join us with that. And, I really just want to end with, you see everywhere, Perry is where Georgia comes together. That's sort of our tagline. And what we mean with that is that residents can have a place, a safe and welcoming community that they can choose to call home and expect the same, high quality services that they would want to live in, raise their family.
So I guess my thing is, we've talked about cities a lot. We haven't talked anything about unincorporated Houston County at all. It's one of those things where it's great when you drive down a beautiful 4-lane road that's got sidewalks going up and down it that takes you from one municipality to the next. Those are connected pipelines to each other. But what's really interesting is when you start talking about what the school system has done about building a school in a neighborhood area. It may not be a neighborhood yet, but a neighborhood area that all of a sudden build a school, build a neighborhood, right? Well, Houston County has a huge history of unincorporated area green space being headlined by a school in that park. That is the green space for that area is that school. and the impact that the SPLOST, the eSPLOST makes, both from the road perspective, but also being able to build a school and then have the neighborhood built up around it, that's a huge part of our community. The one thing that's really sort of strange about this is in the last SPLOST election, we have 107,000 people that are eligible to vote on SPLOST in Houston County. Had 6% of our community vote on that. You're being basically governed by 6% of our community. Activation there is a huge issue. Now, thank goodness that we have an overwhelming support in that 6%. But the thing is it only takes a small changeover in thought process for that 6% to be eroded. So that's one of the things we have to really focus on is, again, activation on our community to vote for things that make a difference in our community.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And y'all will hear more about that in the near future, as voting is the way that we're able to pass our SPLOST, and then of course all of our elected leadership as well. I can't help but notice my friend Jeremy Furman in the middle of the room, and I want to tee this up before I ask you guys just for any kind of advice or call to action for the room. But Jeremy's works with the city of Warner Robins and is part of our current leadership class. And a month or so ago, we were in the city of Perry for their day in our leadership. And as I said, we're regional for a reason, but we go to Fort Valley. We spend a day in Perry. Of course, there's a lot of opportunities with the county, with the school district, with the city of Warner Robins. And this year we've added a day in Macon. Again, Robins Air Force Base, a huge driver in driving why our chamber is regional. But commerce doesn't stop at municipal lines. The fun and experience and where we decide to build our homes and our families does not end when we move from one municipality to another. And so my encouragement is, and what I shared with the leadership class that day that Jeremy made note of, saying he'd never heard it that way. We shouldn't have an expectation that Perry be just like Warner Robins and just like Macon and just like, this would be a really boring place to live if we had the exact same things to do in each of those communities. And so how blessed we are in Middle Georgia to have such a diverse offerings of both natural and cultural resources, all of the things that are made possible by public-private partnerships, our municipalities, our businesses that have invested, and the people like you who are the champions for why we want the next generation to be here, why it's a great place to send your kids for school, for them to grow up and then to return back, whether that's through entrepreneurial ventures, working at a job on base or in one of our service sectors. So that's my final little plug, and then I would love to hear from each of you just any advice or encouragement to our group as we wrap up our program today.
I think one of the things to keep in mind is we're not competing with each other. Yeah. Central Georgia is competing with Augusta and Savannah and Atlanta and Columbus and Charlotte and right, and so it is a real advantage that we've got a diversity of experiences that you can commute in 20 minutes. Yeah. And so as long as somebody finds their place in Central Georgia, I'm happy. Yeah. The second thing I'd say is we can't be fighting over a shrinking pie. We can't let our communities shrink, right? More opportunity means the pie gets bigger and my slice automatically gets bigger. I'm not having to take from you for me to have more. And so, the reality is we have to grow, and that's a process that we do better together. Everywhere I've been, communities that get along, get ahead. And so the more we're able to create opportunities like this to share a vision as a region and be able to serve up each of these opportunities for potential new residents, whether they're our children or just people who are looking to have a great opportunity, a great life, that's not available everywhere in the country anymore. We have a real opportunity here, and it just requires us to continue to build these relationships.
And just to build off the relational where it's not competitive, I grew up here. I moved here whenever I was 12 and went through high school, and as you get older, you reconnect with people you knew then. And so the owners of Peachy Playtown, I went to high school with them, and Rigby's itself serves kids, but not the age range that they are serving. They saw a need, saw a void, and they built something. And in talking, I just heard some things that they were struggling with that I already know about because I've been doing it. And so I recommended some software to them and said, hey, you need to call them. They'll help you with it. And they're using it. And that's one, because it makes their business better. And when their business is better, our business is better. When our business is better, the community is better. I don't want to only go to Rigby's to hang out. I work there. I don't want to go there. I want you guys to build things so I can go and relax. I don't want to wipe off my own table all the time. So, I don't want to be called, hey, can you come talk to this guest? No, I want to hang out. So we all need some downtime, and I never want anyone to think that, oh, we're here, no one else can be here. That's just not true. It's not true. And I think that's the intentional component of it. I've really made an effort to make sure that we are known in the community, not just because we're a business, but as people, because we are a family, and we do care a lot about it. And I want everyone to know that we visit the areas. We visit Macon, we visit Perry, we are lifelong residents, so SPLOST affects us. So just knowing that it is community, not competition, because I really do adore everyone that I know here, and I don't know that I could go somewhere else and, put in 10 years worth of effort, a lifetime of effort to have the same feeling. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are so fortunate to live in a growing region here in the state, and we also benefit from having this culture of collaboration. It's so important to be able to work together. And this morning when I got here, I met Josh for the first time, and he extended an invitation to just come and hang out with him in Macon and share about what each other are doing. And that's so important, and I know we do that in Perry for some smaller communities, and we're happy to do that. So we're all better together, and that's the story that we need to tell, and that shows when it comes to livability, and people are considering moving to this area, especially with the base. So that's what I would add, and just if anybody needs anything from me, I'd be happy to do anything I can for you.
I'm going back to connectivity, but it's connectivity of working and learning from home, cottage industries. You have connectivity that's being brought in so many different ways in the municipalities and the coffee shops that we have that have been developed. But I'm going to speak on Flint's behalf. We've invested $120 million into fiber that is going to stretch out across the rural parts of our communities that we serve. That is a huge tool, and it became a really big issue during the COVID experience, right? Everybody was at home and nobody had connectivity outside of a certain service territory. But Flint's perspective on that is that if we serve you, we will serve you power, and we have a ISP provider, Connect, who will serve you fiber, and it's 1 or 2 gigs, so it's not a little bit, it's a lot. In our side of that, we see it as really growing that cottage industry ability, or work from home, or learn from home ability. And you're seeing, again, going back to COVID, you're seeing the university systems go back to remote learning. So that, to me, that's a huge, another caveat to why your community is going to be successful.
I love it. Guys, thank you so much for sharing today. I hope you all have something new to walk away with, to tout as one of the reasons that you love being part of this community. This was a fantastic discussion. Y'all give our panel a round of applause as we close out. So I have several announcements and no notes, so y'all bear with me. I'll make sure I have everything on the tables that I need to mention. So in case you didn't notice, we kind of take a little hiatus to plan over the summer. But with an election year, this space becomes very busy. So we've got sort of packed events coming up August, September, October, which you can see on your tables there. We need to turn in catering numbers by the end of the day today for our housing outlook next Thursday. You guys are not going to want to miss that. We have Dominic Provence with the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta and Chris Denson with the Georgia Public Policy Institute joining some of our local folks to talk about housing and just the incredible growth that we're seeing, but also where we're forecasting that going in the future. Sarah Murph's going to moderate that panel for us, and it's always a treat to have her, so we invite you to come back here. Next Thursday, you've got a free dozen fingernet cookies from Wilson's Bakery. Those cards on your desk, are on your tables. Grab those. You can go in and get some cookies. Maybe everybody not go today, because we might want to spread those out. We didn't tell Wendy today was the day we're giving them out. So, but another great example of livability in our region. And then, of course, our sponsor today, you've got the black dots and the pins, so make sure you engage with them. Y'all wave here, Heart City folks in the middle, if you're curious about getting that black dot activated with yours. But they also have a special prize at every table under your chair. So as you get up to leave and take your name tags off, there is a lucky prize winner. So look under your chair. If there's nobody in the chair next to you, you can look under that one too, on your way out. And then finally, Thursday after next, we're going to be partnering up with our friends at the Greater Macon Chamber of Commerce for a joint business after hours at Middle Georgia State University's Macon campus, and we hope to see you all there. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.